to Around Comics.
And you're watching Around Comics as well if you're here on a Tuesday night where we always go live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and all those places where you can watch us live. Welcome to Around Comics. I'm Brian Salazar. With me is Christopher Niesman.
Hello.
And Tom.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up from Tom. Tom's feeling excited. He wants to talk.
I'm feeling good.
I'm excited as we talk about Jack Kirby's Fourth World, Volume 4 tonight.
Is that where you read it? Is that where it's...
So wait, that's right.
No.
That's what we were reading,
No.
right?
No, not at all.
It's another book with a... at least my book has Dark Side's head on
That's
it.
where I got confused. It's the big Dark
Side.
No,
Dark Side
we're of course we're talking about the Legion of Superheroes, the Great Darkness Saga, which originally ran in 1982, 1983, in Legion of Superheroes number 284 through 286.
You're not reading that at all.
And also included the annual number 1
off the top of my head.
Written by Paul Levitz with largely art done by Keith Giffen and a host of other contributors, and yeah, that's what we read.
We did well.
Plus
that's what we read most of, and maybe skimmed over a couple pages that got a little wordy, but that's okay because it was still very 1980s entertaining, right?
I had to keep reminding myself it was 30 years old almost, and
it's old.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm not a big fan of 1980s comics anymore. I just
like pre 1986, right? Was that kind of the pivot point for a lot of comics?
Well, I just think at this point I don't really want to go back and read comics from that era. It's just, and especially, I mean, I think I discovered between the last 8 months of trying to get through 2 Legion comics, I just don't fucking like the Legion of Superheroes. They're shitty comics.
It's just not for you.
No, just not for me.
You know, it's I kept thinking as I was going through it that in 1982, 1983, when Paul Levitz is doing this, and he was young when he was pretty young when he did this run, right?
Young man. I don't know.
Well, he's how long?
You're on the Wikipedia page. Look it up.
Yeah.
He is 64 years old. So yeah, so he was in his early 30s. But he started. Is he the one that was writing Legion as like a teenager, or is that Shooter? I'm thinking
that was Jim Shooter.
That was Shooter. So yeah, so you know, Levitz is doing this at the same time. That was kind of like the Claremont Byrne run was kind of heating up around then, right?
Sure.
Well, I just say that because I know in that era it's like you were either like an X-Men fan and a Marvel fan, or a DC fan and a Legion fan. I mean, there were Legion fans and there were X-Men fans, and you know, never. I don't
remember anything from that year, so I've
heard that from like the generation of comic book fans just older than us, you know, that it's
I mean, who was it that created like the original, a lot of the costumes for
Dave Cockrum did a lot of Legion costume stuff, the good and the bad.
Like Nightcrawler was originally a Legion character design.
I think like you can definitely feel to some degree that similarity in this. There's a lot of
costume design in this.
I'm shocked that Legion is not a CW show. It seems like
right.
Like everything that the CW does to ruin TV shows for me is exactly what the Legion is. Like they too many characters, too many costumes, a lot of soap opera, teen angst, and fighting for no real reason between team members. It's all in Legion. This is what the CW should be all over this show.
It's built right into it. I mean, I think we should also mention this sort of started with us reading that Before Darkness trade too. That sort of, which think it's pretty interesting to read both what I think is probably some of the worst Legion stories, and then some of what I think are probably like the annual that's in the Great Darkness Saga is like one of my favorite comic books.
Really?
Yeah. I love Keith Giffen. I just love like his like. It's interesting to look at the Legion of Superheroes, but you're right. I mean, all that stuff's built into it, and it's like part of me feels like it's out of necessity, right? Like you have all these characters, and when we're reading that Before Darkness, right? Like it's obvious that Jerry Conway doesn't know what the fuck to do with all of them, right? Like he's like, it's not his fault. I mean, there's a lot of characters, and you can't have them all together all the time. Like you just can't, right? And like the way he sort of treats it, which when you read the introduction to that collection, it's like admits like nobody really knew what to do with the Legion. Like it was sort of like the DC implosion had just happened, and we were jumping around from different writers to writers, and it was like, and you can kind of tell because it'll be like 3 issues are this story with these Legion members. Then there's 1 issue with this group who's off doing this. And then there's 2 issues with this group off doing that. And like they don't interact at all, which is kind of weird, right? To think about like, oh, I like the Legion of Superheroes. And you're in this period where maybe for like 4 months, you don't see the character you like, right? You're like in this story, like you don't really know. Like,
if they do interact, they're usually kind of shitty to each other too.
Oh, they're tremendously shitty because it's like
all of the guys are really, really dicks to all
I always
of the girls.
felt I feel like it's out of I feel what happened that I think did make the book the shittiness makes it more interesting because they push the limit of how big of dicks the Legion members are to each other, right? But when you think about it, like you almost have to, if you have all these characters, you have to like really push them as far to what they are. Like you got to make Timberwolf like a fucking asshole, like to make him different, right? Like
you got to kind of give everybody something to hang on.
You have to amp them up, like Chameleon Boy is just like both horrible. Like he almost gets his team members killed. Like because he's like throwing a hissy fit about finding out who his dad is, right? Like Levitz and Giffen like amp that stuff up. Like
well, who is it? Lightning Lad is in a coma for the entire Darkness Saga.
Yeah, it's like like they just like took all that stuff and just like we got to like amp all of them up. Chameleon Boy is just like a kind of a whiny bitch who like gets his team in trouble. Timberwolf has got like real emotional issues he needs to deal with. Lightning Lad's just like overwhelmed with being in charge and just can't handle it.
Right.
Element Lad is like pissed off that he's not the leader. Like he should have won, right? Like they amp up all those characters so that they're different, right? Because at the beginning of the Conway stuff we read, it was Gardner Fox-ish, where all the characters were the same. And really the only thing that's different is them explaining what their powers are.
Right.
Like that's literally the only difference between
I think
them sometimes when they're not. It's just like there's so many characters. It's almost like you have
what's the difference between Mon-El and Ultra Boy? I mean, like really?
Yeah, not much.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to admit, like I started to think about why I didn't like this comic book much. I was like, what is it about this book that I think? And I think there's a lot of problems built into this that are really tough to deal with. One is, like you just said, there's so many characters and they all have powers, and they felt the need to like, you have to at some point sort of explain every issue what every character's powers are to some degree. Because
they all have to like address each other by their superhero Legion name, like every conversation.
But on top of that, you throw in all the problems with sort of sci-fi stories where you have exotic locations, alien beings, names of things that don't make sense because they're from the future or they're alien. So it makes it even that much harder to just read because they're talking about something and they do that thing where they make up a name for something that's, like a hammer is not a hammer anymore. It's something weird.
Well, it's funny how Paul Levitz kind of rips off Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and starts putting in captions, kind of giving context to all those things. Like a lot of the challenge, I think, like for me, when I read Before Darkness stuff, is sort of like tonally, it's not even kind of coherent. Like just wild shit is happening. That's not even sci-fi, really. Like it's kind of sci-fi, but not really. Or like
it's bad sci-fi.
It's like the resolution is this guy was an alien and now he's dead, and it's like he wanted to build a world, like there's so many stories in that where like the resolution, that everything wraps up so incredibly quick that it's like a little bow and then that's done. Like we went to this weird world where there was pirates and we figured it out and it's done, and
well, even in the sort of the opening of this collection, Levitz, I think it was Paul Levitz, talks about, he's like, this was never meant to be collected. We didn't think about collecting it. We didn't write it that way. It was never that. So they didn't, it was like every month there was a sort of contained story. And I don't know, I in the history of comics, like, was this a pretty early, first sort of 4-part story? I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like this was sort of the beginning, not the beginning, but around this era, it seems like
more the longer form storytelling.
Longer form storytelling a little bit, and multi-issue stories. I don't know how much.
I mean, Kirby and Lee kind of started doing that with like the Galactus saga.
That's true. You're right.
So it was. You could still kind of read those as single issues, but it was a longer form. But yeah, it's the thing that got me is that it's kind of a sci-fi mystery story that's 4 issues, and you don't get the reveal of who the bad guy is that is on the cover of the trade until the very last page of issue 3, right? Of that story block. And it was hard because as I was reading it, it was like, okay, how many breadcrumbs are Levitz and Giffen put in here?
Some pretty giant loaves.
Some very yeah.
I mean, it's a mystery, but they weren't.
But it was like a big reveal.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, making one of the bad guys look like Orion is pretty much like a giveaway. Like they were like, okay, make it look like
Superman.
Yeah.
But it was funny when you first see the Master, as he was called in the first issue, I think, or the first 2 issues. It's like I almost feel like initially they weren't going to use Darkseid.
Yeah.
And they just had this weird character design for like maybe a new villain. And
they just plugged him in later.
I don't know.
You just have to think about where Darkseid in 1982 is not the Darkseid.
He's kind of a new character.
He's like, kind of not. He's not just a new character. He was kind of in a thing that just withered and kind of disappeared. And like,
okay, yeah.
Like he's not like Darkseid's woven into so much stuff now. Like his appearance isn't like, oh my God, Darkseid. Like that's a crazy thing to include in a Legion story. Like some of that since then's also, I think, been dulled just by the success of using Darkseid. Means Darkseid got pulled into more things, like he became a bigger villain, and it's like, like I can see where Darkseid,
I'm looking at
the time, kind of a crazy pull to drag him in.
Kind of back to this guy, the Jack Kirby Fourth World Omnibus, like the last print date for kind of that original run was 1973, so they hadn't been around for like 9 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, and Darkseid showed up in things, but it's like it wasn't. He wasn't like
But
he wasn't the big
there was
bad.
a relaunch like in 1984, which would have been after Darkness Saga.
Yeah.
So maybe Darkness Saga like brought back some interest in Kirby's Fourth World stuff. And Giffen does do some awesome Kirby crackle in this.
Oh yeah. I mean, also like just looking at the art too. It's always I always kind of feel like Keith Giffen's sort of underappreciated as an artist. You know, like he's a great storyteller, but like when you compare the kind of stuff he's doing in the Great Darkness Saga, like it's not just the drama built up from like amping up all the characters to like just being like the most teenage version of them. Like the art is also just really dramatic. Like the way he frames the characters, like when they're talking or like when they're by themselves or when they're like, you know, like the covers, like they're just amping up the drama to just like a really high degree, like which, you know, probably really amped up kids in 1982 when they were like, oh, this is, you know, like
there's some serious Will Eisner use of type and typography in some of those covers. It's I mean, it's they're impressive. They're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the Legion. It's like warts and all, you know, like the things that kind of, you know, and it's always true about the Legion. Like it's always hard to like separate out the stuff that makes them kind of interesting from also the stuff that makes them sort of impenetrable. You know, like when you look at how they sort of organized the Great Darkness Saga, in a way, they kind of took you on a tour through like everything in sort of Legion lore, you know, like the villains and like the planets and all their friends and all like
even
like
the Legion of or what's
Substitute Heroes.
Yeah, like they kind of dip you
shine, boys.
And it's kind of crazy, you know, because it's like the Legion. This is from a time before, you know, there weren't 7 Legion books. You know, like running concurrently, building a Legion universe. This is literally like decades of like people just like Jim Shooter just making up superpowers. You know, like that's the other thing too, right? Is like the Legion is really interesting too because, at least to me, because their tone shift from where they start to like where they get to, where it's almost like so many of the powers are gags. They're like, yeah, or
I'm
like
so glad he retired Bubble because like this is the dumbest superpower.
Yeah. Like, Matter Eater, you know, like you know, where it's like it was not a punchline, right? But it's like the Silver Agey solution to a problem was like now there's a member who can eat anything, right? Which and now is being incorporated like into
So how do we use this in an ongoing fashion?
Yeah, how do we use Matter Eater or Ultra Boy, whose power, you know, his power is like built around probably whatever first issue who came in, and they're like, why can he only use one power at a time? You know, like that's how his power is built, is like a Silver Age story. Like I have all these powers, but I can only use one at a time, you know, like, and now trying to incorporate him into a more Bronze Age story, you know, it gets weird because like this power is not built the way you would do it, you know?
When did the Legion, because like when we're first introduced to Legion of Superheroes, it's in Superboy, right? Like that's the they come back from the 30s.
Early Silver Age.
And it's just like 3 of them, right? There's just like
Cosmic Boy,
Cosmic Girl,
and Lightning Lad,
When did it become like this gigantic organization of superheroes? Like,
well, they kept adding.
Just kept adding. It was just sort of like
whenever they'd have they'd have there'd be an issue where it's like we're looking for new members, and that would be where Supergirl would try out, and you know, like
more is better.
Yeah, and the structure of it is they kept adding characters and like it's very like organically weird because it has all these sort of characters that you're like, huh, oh, okay. You know, like you could see Duo Damsel is such a Silver Age thing where it's like, how does this girl be in two places at once? You know, and it's like, because she can split into three at the time, you know, like
even some of the names you go from like, you know, the early ones that are like always lad and boy and girl and whatever, and then you have later on you have Brainiac and you have Wildfire and
you
know,
Wildfire,
and
just like
you know,
classic
with
asshole.
Wildfire is the biggest asshole.
Just such a whiny dick,
and not like a charming asshole in any way. He's not roguish. He's not. He's just a dick. He's just a dick to everyone, always. We're trapped in that suit.
What was there like a big shift? Because I mean, I remember like X-Men, and because it, you know, went dead for a while before they revamped it, and then they come out with the all new, the all different X-Men, and Legion seems to have that, you know, from the Silver Age origins, the original 3, to this very Bronze Age.
Well, it was Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes for a long time, and then they dropped the Superboy right before we got to that first trade, Before the Darkness. Superboy kind of drops out. He shows up, but he's not a constant, like. I think there's reprint things in there at some point. Like, it's sort of, you know, interesting, convoluted print history of like.
Was it kind of a weird shift where it becomes this like very sci-fi oriented like teen book?
I mean, you start to see that stuff in there. I mean, Dave Cockrum kind of, and it makes all the ships look like Star Trek ships at some point. Like, that stuff all starts kind of like leaking in.
So Cockrum did it for both.
A little bit, yeah. But, you know, when you read, I mean, what's funny though is like, you know, when you read all those characters and they're all just these super amped up assholes, I always still think Brainiac 5 is like the most interesting character in all of these stories, because he's the one character who's always like, and I don't know if they felt the need to do this because his name's Brainiac. He's the most rooted in being a hero constantly, where like his problem is that he's trying to do something good all the time. Like is
that because he's trying to make up for like the sins of his ancestor? Is that
well, no, I mean it's sort of built into his character of like, he often does, like, you know, he made Computo on accident. He, you know, within this story, he acts, you know, like it's sort of a common Brainiac trope at a certain point that like his own ambition to do good often causes him to get in trouble or to create things that.
Like
what was that?
Isn't there also with Brainiac sort of like a built-in thing where you're like everyone's just sort of waiting for him to go bad?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, where you're always like, oh, is this sort of the
moment, you know, where he
is this when it happens?
He's the bad guy, and like, but you know, and all these really amped up characters. Every time I read this, I'm always like, oh yeah, and then there's all these amped up assholes, and then Brainiac's always like this character that's really built around like he's a hero and he's really trying to do good things, and he's always getting people permanently hospitalized though. Like Mad Eater Lad went insane, and Invisible Kid's sister got taken over by Computo, and it's always like he's got all this. His character's always got all this weight to it because he's always like he's working on these things, right? Like he's the one that figured out how to get Mon-El out of the Phantom Zone, and like here's the lead poisoning thing that kept in there, you know, like that's just built into his weird character. He's my favorite Legion member. But
there was a couple of things I did like. One, I like the idea, and I was funny because I was, when I was reading it, I was thinking about Thanos in the Marvel movies, because it's like it kind of felt like that. You know, Darkseid's collecting all these powerful artifacts to suck the power out of and people, but and that really was like, oh, that's like the Thanos getting the Infinity Gems, very similar.
Gathering power.
Yeah.
And like I said, there are some really cool moments in this saga. It was just, I kind of struggled to get through it to some degree, but I will say I'm trying to find it here so I can actually read what it says.
The editor's note.
It was the best editor's note. Here it is.
Oh yeah. I was gonna bring it. It's my favorite part of the entire series.
The best fucking editor's note is when they reveal that what's his name is
Orion and Highfather.
Yeah, Orion is the baby, and he's been cloned or whatever. And there's an editor's note. Anybody who doesn't know the story of the 20th century war of the new gods against Darkseid's apocalypse, trust us, it's too complicated to explain here. I love it. Like, hey, there's a huge history why this moment matters. If you're not aware,
we can't explain it.
When I read that, it's like I want a modern story that references the Great Darkness Saga and puts the exact same fucking editor's note in.
I feel like you'd get that if you got like what's his name that wrote Hawkeye and
that Fraction.
Yeah, it's a very Fraction thing to do for sure.
Yeah,
there's a whole book. Like
it's important.
It's you can't explain it all with him.
I almost feel like there was probably one in the Jimmy Olsen book that he did.
I'm sure there is. I'll dig it up. I'll find one where it's.
But that was, I mean, just really a special little moment of like, wow. The whole climax of the series is like, listen, fans. This is for the fans. Sorry. We're giving the fans. If you're not a fan, if you just
think about like what we were saying about like Darkseid wasn't Darkseid back then, right? So like some people probably did get to it and it was like, who the fuck is that? Like
It's like Keith Giffen just really wanted to draw some Kirby crap. There it is. Enjoy it. I love it. I love that.
Co-plotting.
There were a lot of chuckle moments in this, good and bad. Will I seek out a bunch more Legion? No, but I had fun with this.
I will say I like the end because when Orion did pop up, I was like, oh, you're fucking kidding me. That's going to be
Hello, Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, like a Deus Ex Machina, but then it was like no, but then they fooled you again because then it was Superman or Superboy, Supergirl, and you thought, okay, they're the ones that are going to finish, and no, it wasn't. Then the whole Legion comes together, and even they couldn't finish them. Yeah, it was just the fact that then there was a billion Daxamites. 3 billion.
3 billion.
I love the fact that Darkseid had them carve their planet in the shape of his head, which I think is such a. Hey, I want to know whose idea that, like, if Keith Giffen was like, let's just make the planet look like his head.
That's some boss level like domination. Colonizing. I'm gonna take over your planet, and just so you never forget it, you're gonna carve
my head. Your planet's now the shape of my head. I mean, it's great.
No narcissism.
It's just like, I'm like,
no narcissism at all.
I'm like, that is A+ comic booking to be like, let's just make them carve the planet in the shape of the iconic Darkseid.
Is it a mountain? Oh, hell no. It's the whole damn planet.
It's going to be the whole goddamn planet. It's going to be shaped like his head. Yeah.
But of course it had to be the Legion to stop him. But then it is the classic Darkseid. I've become bored with this, so I'm just gonna leave, exit, because that's how you beat Darkseid. You just bore him,
outlast him until he gets bored and leaves.
Yeah, it's like it's Galactus, you know.
I also loved all the references. All the references to how many times the Legion headquarters has been destroyed. When they're like, this is the third one. You know, Brainiac blew it. The Fatal Five destroyed it one time, and Brainiac blew it up one time. The third one.
There are fun moments in it for sure. It's an interesting. Like I said, I was not a Legion fan when I was a kid. I was definitely an X-Men fan, and I can't say that I'm a Legion fan now, but
I am, but my Legion, and I think it's Tom who turned us on to it. I really like that Legion Lost story.
Oh yeah, that was great. I shouldn't say
the Legion that I like to read.
I like the idea of the Legion.
Yeah,
yes.
I like the whole concept of the Legion, but the execution a lot of times just doesn't do it for me.
It's like, oh damn, there's a lot of characters in this.
There's a lot.
I think
like
jumping into the Legion then would be like someone jumping into X-Men now, where it's just, I try and read X-Men comics, and it's hard for me because I don't know who the fuck anyone is.
Well, they should be explaining their powers to you.
Yes, and addressing each other by their fucking
full
superhero name.
Cosmic
well,
Boy.
if it's what's his name? He basically puts a chart of them in the front of every.
Hickman. Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, he gets it.
Oh, did he get that? Maybe he got that idea from the screen in the Legion headquarters, where they put the logos of the different characters, so you could see who he's talking. Like, what happened to this group? To organize the idea of like, there's 4 different groups of Legionnaires out doing stuff somewhere.
So Tom, maybe you can answer me something, because the Legion is all about time and time travel and future stories and bringing heroes from the past into the future. That was kind of the base, the beginning of it, and they still do a lot of time jumping now. Is the Flash, or is he involved in the Legion? And if not, why not? Because the Flash is always, his time treadmill and all that stuff.
No, Superman.
It's a Superman thing.
It's a Superman thing.
Okay.
I mean, I think, at one point, before Barry Allen died the first time, he went into the future. But right, like when you can pick, Barry Allen went to the year like 8,000, so it would be 5,000 years after the Legion of Super. Like
if you're keeping score at home.
Yeah, there's infinite future, right? Like that you can travel to, that you wouldn't run in to anybody else. But it was always more of like they did have some crossover, like the Justice League and the Legion would meet on occasion. Like I think they were in one of the JSA crossovers. Okay. The Legion was involved as well. But it was always more of like a Superboy, type.
It's
thing.
interesting how like spin-off series and that kind of stuff, they make their own little silos within the companies almost. And you get some crossover here and there, but there are properties that are attached to other properties. New Mutants and Excalibur. That's kind of the X-Men silo, and they don't really mess with the Avengers except in.
Stay away from the Legion. This belongs to Jim Shooter, 13-year-old Jim Shooter, making up all this shit. So I mean, my favorite. We talk about soap operas. The most soap opera-y moment, and it always makes me laugh, is when when those Legionnaires are trapped on like that asteroid, and they show up as like Saturn Girl and Timberwolf are talking to each other, and everyone thinks that they hooked up, which is like the
what was the line? The line that was it Lightning Lad or says to him? Oh God! Oh wait!
Are you talking about when Element Lad's like, "Oh, I took something from him that he gave up"? Yeah, I was like, "What an asshole!"
Right? I was like, "Damn!" That was probably my favorite line of the whole series.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit! That was.
But that's like Timberwolf didn't do anything.
No, he didn't. But Timberwolf's an asshole, so
yeah, he's
They're all assholes.
They're all assholes.
Even the women, even the most not most of women, but like Dream Girl or whatever. What's her name?
Dream Girl.
She's a complete asshole. Like she's super arrogant.
Yeah, Starboy.
She's empowered, Sal.
Is that okay?
Dream Girl, Princess Projectra.
I did. What's the blue skinned
Shadow Lass?
I remembered that I had a thing for her when I was a kid. I was like, something about the blue skin and the dark hair. I don't know, something there.
Karate Kid. Karate.
All right, so Tom, you said Brainiac is your favorite.
Yeah.
Legion. Chris, who's your favorite Legion character? Do you have one? Do you have a favorite Legionnaire?
Favorite Legionnaire.
Arm fall off boy. the Legion of Substitute Heroes.
I'm kind of a Wildfire guy.
Oh wow! That says a lot.
Is it really fucking surprising, Tom? If you think about it,
you just like, I like this guy. He combines like the whininess of like, because he has the whininess of like, oh, I don't have a real body, with like.
So hold on. So I'm reading this thing, and Darkseid like literally rips him apart, right?
Yeah.
And so then I'm going through and reading it. I'm just like, wait, where the fuck? I thought Wildfire died. I had to go back, and it's like, oh,
energy,
no,
man.
He just got a different suit because that's what he does.
Yeah, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons. In that one, in the annual.
Yeah,
thought you would like that. Yeah, I mean, Wildfire combines both like this pathos of like, I'm just an energy being, I don't have a real body, with also just like extreme arrogance. So it's like a real combination of just like this really like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he?
Hey, if you didn't have a body, you'd
be whiny about it.
I always thought Triplicate Girl was cool and interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like the Wildfire
Bouncing Boy
design because he's different. I like Wildfire. The character design is very of that era, which I think is cool. I don't know if it's aged really well though.
He was a cool looking.
Yeah, he was.
Character.
Cool name.
Yeah.
He's
Who's your favorite, Sal? Is it Shadow?
Gotta be Timberwolf.
Shadowlass. No, but then we have to go through the ones we hate. The one we hate the most.
It's Timberwolf.
Timberwolf was definitely my favorite because he was a Wolverine ripoff. But I also didn't like him because he was a Wolverine ripoff. But when I was younger, he was definitely my favorite. Although I don't know. Well, what's his name? Starboy? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I've always liked his look. Like I thought he had
a
cool costume, and he
the Alex Ross.
He was rocking a beard.
So awesome.
Like I don't know why he had a beard, but he did. I liked that.
Hell, you're wearing the costume right now.
Kinda, yeah.
You got the beard and the speckled.
But there was something about Mon-El I always liked.
Yeah, I can see that.
I liked Mon-El because he was Kryptonite, or Kryptonian, but he didn't wear an S on his chest, and I felt like he had.
I can see that.
He had like shit.
Yeah, he had some baggage. You know what I mean? Like I just felt he wasn't.
He'd always get himself in trouble. He's always like a little too sure of himself. Right. So he always like gets himself in a little bit of like. He's not quite Superboyish, and then Superboy always figures out a way. Like Mon-El always has like a little bit of like, I can handle this, and then like, oh, I can't. Like, oh shit, I was wrong. I can't handle this.
I give him points for I don't know. I do like a lot of the characters. I like a lot of the costumes and the designs of the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go back and read that Legion Lost again because
that's good. That's
good.
That's what is it? Andy Lanning?
It's Abnett and Lanning.
Lanning. I really look at that as kind of the precursor to their Guardians work. I mean, they were doing really good sci-fi before Guardians. That's the first time I remember them as a writing team because I always forget which one's the inker. Abnett, Lanning. Dan Abnett is he?
Dan Abnett's name.
Yeah. The one thing I will say though too is like what you see, later on in the Legion stuff that I do think Keith Giffen, the thing Keith Giffen really did artistically is not just the drama, but he made things look weird. Like he made aliens look like we did
that. I will give the book credit for that because the aliens, you had all sorts of different looking aliens.
I love the lawyer. The lawyer. The lawyer. It's amazing.
I'm a good attorney.
You're a slime ball. Oh, you're a good attorney.
He really found a way, to like make aliens feel alien and like make like, whereas earlier when you're reading Legion stuff, the aliens just were kind of like, like orange-skinned guy who's a carnival barker and a dude in a cowboy hat and pirates, it was
most of the Legion are
the most alien looking. Yeah.
Guys.
And
you're orange skin, but let's give you.
I think I stopped liking Timberwolf when he got plastic surgery.
Oh
and
yeah,
no longer looked like a wolf.
Dude, you gotta just own your look, Timberwolf, getting plastic surgery.
What's up with that?
What's up with that, man?
For a chick.
Come on, dude. Come on, Timberwolf. But yeah, I mean, also you could see the way he drew Block. That's such I know he didn't create that character, but that's such when I think of I love Keith Giffen drawing Darkseid or Block or any of these characters where he can really stretch, dimensions and the contours and the texture and stuff. I always thought that the big imprint Giffen gave was Legion aliens always looked so much weirder going forward. And
Did you notice the third issue? I think it was the third issue. Maybe it was the second. It had a different look to it than the other ones. It was the same art team on it supposedly, but it was a different line. It was the art was
sometimes, and this is just a little comic book insider for some folks out there. Sometimes inkers will pass on work and subcontract out and keep their name on it, so that that happens. So,
I actually liked it though. I felt like it would have. It's a style that I think kind of fits today almost.
It's a little
Marcos Martin-ish.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's a little. It's a little smoother, the faces are a little less dramatic.
I'd say whoever was inking Giffen got busy and may have subbed that one out.
Larry Mahlstedt.
Larry Mahlstedt.
Yeah.
How dare you? He was. It's interesting. It's the way they title it is Keith Giffen and Larry Mahlstedt as artists.
Yeah.
You don't get that today if you're an inker. You know what I mean?
Sometimes Giffen's credited as a co-plotter. Sometimes.
And
we should just do an all Keith Giffen episode.
Yeah, I love Keith Giffen.
Because I love Keith Giffen.
My guess here, and I don't know the history of it, my guess is that Levitz probably had a hand in that because he would go on to basically spend the rest of his career advocating for creators and paying them royalties on stuff. And I think Paul Levitz was the last real publisher he was publisher at DC. I think he's the last guy that I can think of that was really you hear about players managers in baseball. I think he was a creators publisher.
Yeah, I mean, he came from that. Yeah,
he grew out of it, and I think he has an absolute love, not just for the medium, but also for DC. I mean, he did the DC 75th anniversary book from Taschen, which is amazing. I mean, the guy is a huge influence on the industry beyond.
Such a nerd, perfect for Legion of Superheroes.
He's the perfect nerd. And he's a smart nerd that a lot of creators will, I think, still talk glowingly about him. He made sure those guys got paid.
Paul Levitz.
Love Paul Levitz.
Yeah. You follow on Facebook. Yeah. He's got good Facebook updates sometimes.
Does he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Does he still rock the stash?
I think he does.
Better. That stash is
just the stash.
The iconic Paul Levitz stash.
Yeah. I met him once, and at the same time, I wish I knew how historically significant he was. But at the same time, I'm glad I didn't know how historically significant he was, if you know what I mean. He was a super nice guy.
He looks like a nice guy.
Yeah.
He just looks like he'd be a hey, how you doing? You know, he's like,
I always like his forewords to stuff. Like when he writes like the introductions to things, because I always think he's always like sometimes like when people write those, I feel like they're competing with the thing you're about to read, or they're trying to say something profound
right
about it. And I always like his introductions because I always think they're kind of like more on like the thing where he's like, these weren't meant to be read like this. But just so you know,
spoken like a publisher, right?
Yeah, where it's like, we didn't write these like this. There's something really like not self-deprecating, but very like honest about it, and like
he's a little more genuine. He's not giving you a sort of story.
It's interesting because I think he has so much reverence for the medium, but he's also not afraid to kind of tell you how the sausage is made at the same time, which is unique.
This is the way it is. I'm Paul Levitz. God damn it.
Cool. Paul Levitz. So I could talk more, but Sal informs us that we have some correspondence we need to attend to.
Oh yeah, we got emails. We got a couple of emails.
Did they come via carrier pigeon?
Well, this one may have. It's from Joe G, and we know Joe is like 97 years old. He's our oldest living. No, I don't know how old he is.
Hang in there, Joe.
He was there when Kirby met Lee.
He said, Brian, Chris, and Tom, don't know if you've seen this, but it's pretty good. You can do it on the regular podcast or special if you will. It's from Disney. It's something to watch. It's from Disney, but it is on YouTube in segments and only 4.5 minutes long. The title is The Good, the Bart, and the Loki. You will learn what happened when Disney bought Marvel and Fox and why. So he's recommending that we watch The Good, the Bart, and the Loki. It sounds like it's almost like a mini documentary about Bart Simpson and Marvel, and so that sounds. And then he says, that was Dave Sims' work on You Don't Know Jack. You can see his sarcastic, realistic style in previous work, Glamour Puss. Yes, that was the real title. Did we talk about You Don't Know Jack? Was that us? I think Joe G was listening to another podcast and confused it with us.
We may have.
I don't remember.
It's going, but yeah, shit. I mean, you may have read it and brought it up.
Did I?
Maybe. Yeah, I think so.
Really enjoying Immortal Hulk, Strange Adventures, Infinite Frontier, all digital all the time. Really enjoyed BWS, Barry Windsor Smith's.
Yeah, we talked about You Don't Know Jack when we had our extended Dave Sim conversation.
Oh
yeah.
Google knows everything.
Really enjoyed Barry Windsor Smith Monster, a masterwork from a master. Actually bought the hardcover. Thanks for the recommendations and keep up the good work. So that's from Joe G.
Speaking of digital, I would like to thank the Milwaukee Public Library and Hoopla for supplying my copy of Legion of Superheroes Great Darkness Saga.
Ding. I
Ding.
guess.
Ding. Credit.
Love the hoopla. All right.
Just library card.
Oliver emailed us, Milwaukee Rex, ? Hey, fellas. My name is Oliver. I'm a listener from way back in the old days and an animator that just broke into comics. My first book is coming out through IDW this winter. My wife and I are from Philly, but we are considering a relocation to Milwaukee. We are currently visiting for the week, and I was wondering, oh shit, we should have read this a week ago.
Oh shit.
And I was wondering if
sorry, bud.
Chris had any recommendations for the town, particularly for comic game related shops and to-dos, but bars and restaurants and must-sees would be helpful as well. No worries if you guys don't see this in time. Oops. This is pretty last minute, but thought, what the heck, worth a shot. We'll also be popping into Chicago on Saturday, and the rest of you boys have any sterling advice. Anyhow, absolutely love the show, and I'm thrilled to have you back on the regular rotation. Feels like I reconnected with an old pal. Thanks,
Aw.
gentlemen. Yours, Ollie. Sorry, Ollie. I would have read this last week when you were looking for this, but I don't know. You might come back to either of these.
Probably the best like nerdy geeky shop. There's a fantastic board game, small chain. I think they have three stores. It's called Board Game Barrister. Fantastic, best game store I've ever been to. The comic shops here are called Collector's Edge. I think there's 2 of them. Tom, there's a really cool bobblehead museum here. It's kind of geeky. Yeah, that's kind of the geeky nerdy stuff, right?
Yeah, you would know more than I probably.
Yeah. If you come here, go to Vanguard for Sausage, and you can watch classic WWE, or actually WWF. You can watch classic WWF there. I was going to take you for lunch there, but we got too busy and went somewhere else. So Sal, I got to take you to lunch there next time you're up. So yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's fun. A lot of cool things to do.
And if you're in Chicago looking for comic book stores, you have obviously Dark Tower, where we started our podcast, and Challengers, which is also another. We were there for a little while as well. So 2 great comic book stores. There's tons of great comic book stores.
Chicago Comics, Graham Crackers.
You should definitely check out if you're into like independent stuff. Quimby's books.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still open?
I'd be shocked if Quimby's if Quimby's Comics closed. Everyone in comics would know about it, because I mean it's one of it. I mean, hyperbole coming. It's an important comic book store. It's a store that for that independent niche. I mean, it's one of the gold standard independent comic book stores in the country.
So yeah, there's tons of come, but if you are coming back this year, I would highly recommend trying to go to the Museum of Science and Industry and seeing the Marvel exhibit for all of the awesome original artwork that is there. I talked about that a couple episodes ago, but I can't recommend that enough if you're a nerd.
So Tom, tell us how cool Oak Park is.
Nah, there's nothing out here, man. There's a bad comic shop.
I know that shop. Sal and I know that shop. We used to go there on our lunch every once in a while and almost get buried under a lot of old book.
Yeah. It's the sort of platonic. It's like the platonic. Well, it's like the terrible version of what you think like a terrible comic book store is.
It's beyond.
You want to see some Frank Lloyd Wright houses? Got that. If you like Edgar Rice Burroughs, there's a house over by me where he lived at, where he wrote Tarzan.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
There's Hemingway stuff there. Is Hemingway from Oak Park?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
Joe G sent us another email.
Oh no. Listen, assholes.
He said, hello, Brian, Chris, and Tom. I was rereading Mr. Miracle by Englehart and Gerber in the trade before reading Mr. Miracle by Tom King, and I ran into a Bob Haney moment as previously described by Tom Caters. See attachment. So he sent us this page. It's from let's see if I can. How do I open this? Hold on one second. Let me see. Nope, that's not it. Download it.
I look forward to seeing it, because I look forward to.
So Tom, explain to everyone who Tom Haney is.
Bob Haney.
Yeah,
he used to write the Brave and the Bold for a long time, and he was sort of infamous for not giving a fuck about continuity or like what Earth characters were supposed to be on. So like
he had his own Earth, right?
Earth B.
Earth B.
But he would he'd have like Wildcat like hanging out with Batman without any sort of like they're not on the same Earth. Right, like it's Earth 1 Batman and Wildcat who lives on Earth 2, and it would just be like that's what's happening in this story. He also wrote like the original Teen Titans, which are some wild ass comics as far as just like what is happening.
Okay, so he sent us this page, and it said in the trade, Brave and the Bold number 112 is.
Oh yeah, I have this one. I think.
featuring Batman and Mr. Miracle. On page 2 of Brave and the Bold, Batman tackles Commissioner Gordon before entering a building which then blew up. Batman explains to Gordon, "Luckily, my bat sense warned me." Evidently, Spider-Man is not the only one with early warning radar.
Just make some shit up, man. The comics, dude.
Very, very un-Batman kind of thing to say.
Yeah, that's like how weird.
Have you guys ever read any of like the Bob Haney Teen Titans? I don't know if they're collected. There must be some.
Oh,
you should read one time because they're fucking wild. As far as just like, what the fuck is this? Like,
I sense a Tom versus.
I don't know, man. Those are like, they're almost like impenetrable to like talking about them because it's almost like you like you should just read them because they're like wild ass, like some dude like trying to write like hip comics and like there's all this like 60s slang and it's just they're insane. They're just crazy, like just low stakes. No story has anything important like really happening. It's weird. It's crazy.
Joe went on to say, the weird thing about this is that this sounds rather familiar to me. I haven't read this in a few decades, but I doubt this is the only time Bob Haney referred to the bat sense of Batman, among other things, I'm sure. Just thought I would share the goodness of Earth B with you. Can't wait for your discussion on the truly eclectic Legion trade you selected. It is a very weird section of issues to reprint. And P.S. My father was from Chicago. Oh, so there you go. Well, we kind of talked on the weird selection of, but that was I wouldn't even know what to say about that collection of issues. It was, I mean,
it starts to make more sense. Actually, the best part of it is those issues at the end that are like the secret history of the Legion, where they kind of like go through like, here's how every member joined. And it's just like, it's done like a shitty sitcom, right? Where it's like, here's a mystery and here's a bunch of flashbacks to solve the mystery. But it's fun to like get all these condensed, like, actually, that's how I joined. And then that's how I joined. And like the way they sort of flip through them so quick, it's kind of fun to like go through the Legion history that way. Like,
I think my favorite issue in the collection was the one story that was a throwback issue.
Oh, yeah.
That was the history of the Legion flight ring.
Flight ring, yeah.
It was like a fun, like Silver Age toned story, and I really
that Fatal 5 story that's in there, where the resolution of it's kind of weird, like it doesn't really like pay off that well. Does kind of hint at sort of where Levitz would eventually kind of go, where it's sort of like the characters are a little bit more like fleshed out and like. There's a little more intrigue and like, oh, what's happening? Who's the dark man? Who's controlling? You know, like, sure, the resolution isn't that great because it's always like, if it ends up being Tharok, it's just like, is one of the dudes in the Fatal 5, whatever, who cares? Like, he's not even though it is funny, it's like, he, it's like a very Dogman origin where half his body got blown off and replaced with like a robot version. I'd say it's like one half of his body is like robot version. But I mean the secret, like the secret history of the Legion or whatever those last issues are in that one were really fun to read because they just kind of like fly through the history and it's like okay. Like, I
would much rather, I don't know, like I like the Legion, but it's like I would much rather they were just simpler stories with 2 characters or 3 characters and then move on to 3 other characters. Like I never need to see the Legion together in one giant book fighting a, you know what I mean?
Like well, that's kind of the fun of it with the big epic. It's
there's a couple of issues in there that they do kind of like, they do split stories, right? Where like they're kind of like, here's what's happening with Karate Kid and Princess Projectra on this planet, and that's like 8 pages. And then like the first half is like, here's what's happening with these characters. But yeah, I mean, there is something there. And then in the Great Darkness Saga,
there was a lot in every issue. Like there was a lot going on.
You got your money's, you got your 50 cents worth.
It was like man, I kind of
think about it. Not that many comics on the stands in 1982, not like there are today, and you had to wait a whole fucking month. So
Yeah,
I mean, kids would read an issue 4 or 5 times. That's why we know, you know, the stuff behind me, these, you know, omnibus and collectors, because we read the fucking issues 80 times.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's different now. Like you read an issue and rarely do you even go back to it for something.
They fucking jammed each one of those issues with like a lot of stuff.
We used to make fun of Bendis, and like Bendis got a lot of shit for his decompressed storytelling, you know, where it was just like not a whole lot going on in every page and not a whole lot going on in every issue. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm okay. I'm kind of, at this point, I'm sort of okay with that kind of storytelling now. I can't take in that much.
I think, I mean, part of it is being a kid, you know, or like you're just like a sponge and you're like, give me 8,000, give me as much of this as you possibly can, you know, like, yes, I want to see all these alternate versions of all these characters too. I also really liked that there was that weird 8-page story that was like a Carmine Infantino 80s like story of like Element Lad and Brainiac going to go get Matter Eater Lad done in like Carmine Infantino's like 80s, everything's puffy style, you know, like the later version.
I was surprised at how many issues there were of this before it got to the Darkness Saga. I'm like, when does this saga start?
That's all your setup, man. It's got to get those, you know, big.
I mean,
but I was like, oh shit, the actual story is like 4 issues in. This collection.
I mean, it's weird. I mean, it is always odd to read the collection and be like, oh, actually, this doesn't kind of start until,
you know, part it reminds me kind of the Phoenix Saga, you know, because that's the stuff that Claremont was dropping. He was putting little foreshadowings and little, you know, little events.
That's how you did it, man.
That wouldn't really pay off for almost a year. I mean, you were seeing Mastermind in the X-Men comics, like legit, like, you know, 10 issues before the Phoenix Saga stuff kicked in. So it was kind of like that. It's just like, you know, bits that would build on each other to
when they like accidentally wake up Darkseid like 6 issues before.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Mon-El thinks he can handle it.
Man, at least it wasn't Brainiac. Wasn't Brainiac.
It was Mon-El.
What's the dude with the weird costume that's sort of like boob flaps? Like it's just black and it kind of comes up in weird squares on his chest.
Cosmic Boy. He gets a new costume halfway through.
Oh, thank God, because that was not good.
It's a weird ass costume.
He doesn't even look the same though. Like he doesn't even. I mean, he has like black hair in that. Are you sure that's?
Yeah. That was a little too.
It was
late 70s discotheque. Yeah, that was some discotheque inspired.
Like bare shoulders and
I just pulled up there's this really
stuff.
Great wait. There's this guy who's put together like images of all different costumes of like evolutions of characters' costumes. Here, I'll throw this on.
Cosmic Voice is special.
In our private chat, private exclusive chat. But yeah, I mean, it's a gross costume. It's weird.
It's gross. All right, let's see here.
Oh yeah, very nice.
Oh yeah, what the fuck?
Well, you know, it's like, does that look like it may have just been a coloring mistake that that inspired that? And Sal, I don't know if you can share that screen.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
You kind of know what I get. It looks like the costume evolved naturally, and then it's like, oh, let's just make the pink flesh colored.
Yeah,
let's just make
it does look like it's the same. Like it's the same as this one, but they just cut it all out.
Yeah, it's coloring. It's the colors. The colorist made a bold fucking decision there.
That's a weird weird costume there.
I love the original. I mean, the original is that's a really nice design. It's a nice character design.
One, right?
Huh?
Is the pink one his original? Or is it the
no, I think it's which one? I like the one on the far left, the blue with the black. I mean,
that's not the original one. The pink one I think is the original.
The pink one. You're right. I was looking at the smaller version of it.
Whoa, Firestar. Holy crap. He had this many costumes?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's changed. It's almost like the Flash with just the little small variations. And are there thunderbolts on the belt? Or
you're about to fall down a hole I've gone down of the stuff of all the different costumes.
Yeah, now you're talking.
Nice. Yeah, I love character design, so I'm following you down that rabbit hole, Tom. That's awesome.
And I like one of my favorite moments is when there's a collection of alien tourists. You do see like a Thanagarian, like Hawkman character mixed in, because that's like one of the aliens that you would see out in the world.
If I don't really collect original art anymore, but if I were to start collecting OA again, it would absolutely be character sheets, like those Jose Luis Garcia Lopez character sheets that he would do. That's what pisses me off, is that whenever we started this show, like those character sheets weren't that out of the realm of possibility, but now they're tough to come by. I love, as a graphic designer, as a comic fan, they're amazing. I love them.
Go get some Alex Toth ones.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking there's not a lot of comic book creators that I haven't met that I would want to meet, but I think Keith Giffen would be one of them.
He'd be the guy?
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you. I mean, I've enjoyed so much of his work, and I said it like 1,000 times, but like the Justice League stuff, which was so far ahead of its time then, and is still probably ahead of its time, like 30 years later.
You keep going back to it, kind of.
Yeah, revolutionary
in one way or another. But yeah, that's probably my favorite of his too. I like the Lobo stuff that he did. Lobo's another asshole. Always fun. He seems like a guy you could sit down and have a beer with.
Yeah, for sure. Do we have any other emails?
Nope, that's it.
That's it. All right. Well, guys, Sal and Tom, I guess you guys actually kind of teamed up on this one, because Sal suggested the Before the Darkness, and then Tom rescued us with the Darkness Saga itself. Yeah. So
I don't know what we would have talked about if we just did the first. We would have been like,
it would have been like a 15-minute conversation.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna be good. So I don't know if that makes it my pick or Tom's pick.
It's your pick, my friend.
I will announce that next week when I have a chance to. It will be shorter than this one. I have a feeling.
That would be good.
Yeah,
that would be
okay. So I'll pick something. I'll think it over, and I'll pick that next week. If you would like to hear more around comics other than this here Tuesday night production, you can do so by becoming a patron and joining us over at patreon.com/aroundcomics. For as little as like $5 a month, you'll get extra stuff like me and Sal and the occasional guest on ACTV. I believe we are going to, because we're a little break between TV shows, we're going to talk about the Suicide Squad, which premieres this Thursday. Yes, the movie.
When are you guys going to talk about that?
Probably Sunday. You want to talk about
us?
Maybe. I'm going to be out of town. I might still be able to do it though.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me know what time, because I plan on watching it. I just recorded a new Tom Versus right before this. I just have to edit it.
Lovely.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up the pace because I gotta get through these freedom fighters. Oh my god, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
I look forward to it. So all sorts of extra content over at patreon.com/aroundcomics. Do what?
I just said Patreon.
Patreon, help us out. What else we got? More emails, info@aroundcomics.com.
Please,
I wore my Witch Fist shirt. Are we ever playing D&D again?
I don't know. I have no answers for you, sir. Has gone missing, so I don't know what's going on.
Dungeon Master guy.
Yeah. But you can get a Lichfish shirt at aroundcomics.com/shop if you would like that or any other Around Comics gear to wear around your comics. You
or
you can
not.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us on all those places. Please share our videos and audio podcasts with your friends and like on YouTube. That helps us out. That kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah. That's about it. That's all the plugging.
That's all the plugging you got. The plugging away. That's all I got. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Hope everyone's doing well.
Other than trying to refinish a bathroom,
it's a fucking bathroom now. Are you just doing this house one room at a time?
Basically, yeah. I'll never redo the bedrooms, but I want to do like every other room.
Okay.
But we'll see. I'm running out of money, so
just trade in the dinosaur and the giant penny in the
never.
Okay. All right.
Actually,
I hear you.
I mean, a substantial comic book collection soon. as an investment.
Nice.
No, they're like a friend of mine contacted me. They're like, hey, I know someone that has been a comic book collector for a long time, and they have a pretty substantial collection of like slabbed books and stuff that's and
substantial,
but they're looking to get rid of it. They're like, they want out of it. And is that something you could help them with? I'm like, well, what are we talking about? And so I'm like, yeah, I may buy the collection from them if I can get a good deal on it, and then keep some stuff and sell.
Piecemeal off the stuff that you're not really
and that's what I basically told them is like, it's either you want it gone quick, or do you want to take your time and get the best value? You either take your time and get the most money, or if you want it quick, you take a hit on what you're going to get. So we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, so I might do that, or I may be calling someone, going, "Hey, you want to buy a
comic collection, and I'll for a fee, I will sell it off for you."
No, I don't. Okay. I don't. Yeah, I would help them out for nothing. But yeah, I may buy it. I may buy one. Cool. So you might be seeing me promoting the sales of some comic books here on Around Comics.
Nice. Yeah, we'll see if there's like Avengers 4 graded copy or something like that.
I don't know yet.
That would be kind of cool. It's all gonna be slabbed copies of X-Force #1.
Yes,
still in the bag.
I've got all of them.
Amazingly, are actually going for some money right now because that damn Deadpool card.
You keep mentioning that.
It's like 13,
you have one you're trying to sell.
Yeah. No. Yeah, maybe. So all right.
Hey, I was going to mention you guys. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but the Batman, the Long Halloween animated is pretty good. They do a pretty good job of trying to emulate Tim Sale's art. It's a little tough, the character designs, because his character designs can be really wonky sometimes. But the backgrounds are really nice in it. They do a great job of like a lot of washes, and the backgrounds look a lot like the comics. So something to check out if you're looking for something.
Maybe an ACTV episode.
Well, there's 2 parts. It's like two movies basically. Nice. They both come out now, so I haven't watched them all, but yeah, pretty cool.
Check it out. Awesome. All right. Well, that's it for this one. I hope you, if you were playing along at home, I hope you enjoyed Legion of Superheroes: The Great Darkness Saga. And even if you didn't read it, I hope you enjoyed our banter about it. We will be back next Tuesday to talk about more comics and comic oriented stuff. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in and around comics.